This is a sort of a rare case. This is a case of keratoconus keratoglobus, extremely large cornea, extremely thinned out cornea, and it was impossible to get any sort of reading on him. Obviously, this condition is bilateral, and unfortunately, he had presented with bilateral mature cataracts, as nobody was willing to handle this case. So initially, I have taken up this case with the idea of trying and doing a tectonic DALC on him. See that if that works, then go ahead and handle the cataract at the same setting, or if not, subsequent settings. I mean, all the surgical plans were open. In the event of a failure of a DALC, obviously I would have to go in for a full thickness graft, and this is how it went. So here we have taken up the case under a local anesthetic. We know this is going to be very prolonged, and it can be a full thickness graft. So here initially I am marking out about a half thickness, very superficial. I have dissected with the trephine, and it's a 10.5 on almost a full limbus to limbus graft. I am doing a peritomy because I would need that area to put my sutures later. I've gone in with 26 gauge needle and tried to inject air, and look what has happened. It's already gone into the anterior chamber. Cornea is so thin. So I abandoned the DALC. Now I'm going ahead putting my scleral phacoincision. Obviously I can't go through the cornea. There's no way I can do that. Going with my 2.8 millimeter keratome, and I'm going right from the outer, almost sclera, making my side port incisions and staining the capsule, and going ahead and fashioning my capsular excess with my cystotome. Very difficult to see because this cornea is slightly opacified due to previous attacks of high drops as well. But there is enough visibility. Scleral rigidity is okay. I'm able to manage, and I want to do the cataract in a closed chamber. I wouldn't like to open up the cornea and then do the cataract in an open eye. It's always very difficult, very risky. So if I can manage, I usually do a closed chamber phaco and then handle the cornea. So I'm not too worried about this endothelium because it's going to come up, and I'm trying to prolapse this nucleus out. The anterior chamber is extremely deep, so we couldn't get any reasonable reading on this eye. And just with my axial length, I am calculating an IOL power of I think we have gone in for 6 diopters. And I prolapse the entire nucleus into the anterior chamber. I then go ahead with my phaco and a Simcoe in my other hand and eat up the whole nucleus en bloc. This is pretty safe. You don't have to worry. There's no way you can damage your posterior capsule, and you are going to replace the cornea anyway. Once that is done, I go ahead with my bimanual and aspirate all the cortex. It's a wide cortex, pretty easy. Once I've done that, I'm not concentrating too much on that. I go ahead and put in my single piece foldable hydrophilic lens well within the bag. Luckily these lenses are pretty pliable, so you can get them to do what you want. All these opacities that you can see are mostly in the cornea. I then go ahead and suture up the incision. I am now going on my trephine mark and opening up and going to excise this entire cornea. I am going to replace this cornea. This is going to be a huge graft. So usually when it crosses 10, I almost take a 1 millimeter difference. However, in this case, because of the extreme myopia, I have just taken a 0.25. You can see how that one single suture up there is really denting up the underlying bed. And very gingerly I am trying to excise the cornea. And that lens has to be put back into place. It has been put back. Then I take out that suture which is distorting the entire architecture there and put in my donor button. It's not going to be very easy to suture this because the sutures will automatically be very short. And however, some Descemet's folds on the graft, you don't have to worry about it. Those are going to clear up. And finally, after putting around 16 sutures and burying all the knots, then before I put my last suture, I aspirate all the viscoelastic from the chamber. And suture my graft and even replace some sutures which I am not very happy about. And this is just to show how I went about this case. Sorry for the quality. Thank you for watching.